How you guys doing? We're talking about Daytona, okay? I just realized I was talking for probably 30 minutes and I probably double clicked to start recording, so I was not recording through any of that. So let's hop right in and do this again, okay? So if I sound annoyed or anything, bear with me. Okay, real quick though, in the comments below, I'm gonna have some videos that Pearce and I recorded in January related to optimal lineups for the Cup, for Xfinity, okay, related to builds, related to do you stack from the back, blah blah blah. We first off, probably the best videos I've ever seen of that stuff. And I'm not saying that because I'm in it, but like nobody else makes videos like talking about the fucking optimal lines for super speedways, okay? And we wasted hours of our life talking about that stuff, okay? So watch that. This is not very much a let's look at optimal lines. I'm just talking out loud here, okay? I just want to have some fun. You will see this in that video, or one of the videos that I did. This is the 6 drivers in the optimal plate races before 2020. As you can see, I have not edited this since February 3rd, okay? So this does not include the races this year, okay? If you don't like that, I understand, okay? You can join the Patreon if you have access to this sheet here, and you can go through and look at them, okay? And we will talk about those in a bit. These were the optimal line. I moved my head out of the way so you can kind of see these last ones. These are the optimal lines of the last 22-ish races, not in order. I did not want to do that. I don't want people, I put this on there to display and make a point that I wanted to, okay? These are the optimal lines, okay? For me personally, I am okay losing money on plate races, okay? Now, I go full autism and just enjoy building races for Wreckfest, okay? A lot of people don't like that approach. A lot of people don't like that, okay? Leaving Talladega this year, a lot of feedback. If it didn't work, I play guys from the back and they didn't wreck. I lost my money, okay? I understand that is frustrating. However, I am okay losing several $100s as I have done in the past chasing the elusive Wreckfest, okay? It has happened for me. I have had some good weeks at plate races when people get stupid, specifically ones that come to my head. The first ever Truck Series race on DraftKings turned into a complete joke. Wreckfest ended up being pretty good because I built for a Wreckfest. The Talladega Fall race a couple years ago when Hamlin won it, when Corey LaJoy had a fuel pump issue, was down several laps, couldn't pass a lot of people, but Cody Ware ends up getting spun the last lap. He finishes 19th, I think. All the other scrubs end up finishing the race pretty well. That was a good one for me, okay? So off the top of my head, I've had other lines finish in the top 10. Don't think I've had it for Cup Series. However, I know I've had it for Xfinity and Truck Series. Last year, the Tate Fogelman win at Talladega, I had a Tyler Hill line that finished 9th or 10th in the contest. So whatever. I'm leaning towards building for races like that. My main example that I can think of 2 examples. One would be for UFC, the other one would be for NFL. UFC on slates where there is just pure chalk, like and UFC chalk is I would argue very, very smart. In a sense of if there's just an underdog that is most likely going to win, that every build goes to, every line goes to, so he's popular. You typically have 2 fighters that are usually mispriced or a bit underpriced based on what the props are for the fight to not go the distance, and so everybody kind of builds around those 3 individuals or whatever, and then you can't really differentiate on your final 3 guys, and you end up with a very chalk type of slate, okay? Or in the NFL season, okay, you have a showdown contest to where, it is expected that both teams are going to score probably around 21 points, somewhere around there. We understand that the optimal line is probably going to have wide receiver 1 from one of the teams with wide receiver 1 from the other team, quarterback correlated with the wide receiver 1 in the captain position, yada yada. Like the build is kind of seen there. Those are what I would see as plate races that don't have gigantic wrecks, okay, or that take out just a gigantic portion of the field. The reason is because, and while I don't necessarily build for chaos in the NFL stuff, my example for like MMA, if that chalk line busts, like if the chalk busts, a lot of people aren't going to cash, okay? Lineups that are built for wild, outrageous, type of evenings, or a night where just underdogs are killing the favorites, okay? We have tons of favorites going down. We have tons of underdogs winning. Whatever the case is, lines built for chaotic UFC events, do well in chaotic UFC events. If the event isn't chaotic, they most likely don't cash, okay? NFL games that are, maybe that was the wrong example for NFL scoring. Let's back it up. Say if the NFL game is a very low scoring type of contest, okay? Well, then traditional optimal lines for showdown contests are not going to work, okay? Like if the score ends up being, for whatever reason, like 13-3 or whatever, okay? That is going to end up having a drastically different optimal line than a high scoring NFL contest, because you could most likely have, a wide receiver in the captain position, maybe not even paired with his quarterback, or two running backs in the optimal line, two wide receivers, a kicker, and a defense. And so any line that had a quarterback in there didn't have a chance to be an optimal. Those are chaotic types of NFL games, to where like traditional building stuff won't work out to be optimal. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I hope I'm not just going in a circle. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. As I said, watch some videos in the comments that we have made that go into this, go on the optimal lines more. Anyway, when we look at rec fests, look, if the race isn't a rec fest, I'm going to tell you I don't make a lot of money. It's very frustrating, very tilting, but I go in there and accept it. This year at Talladega, great example. Pretty sure I lost about everything in the Cup Series race at Talladega because they just didn't wreck a ton, okay? They didn't get incredibly stupid. However, the Millionaire Maker for DraftKings did pretty well in that. That was the only contest I entered, did pretty well. Okay, let's kind of explain that, or at least explain how I approach these. And so these are the optimal lines. You can see that, this race was a wreck fest, okay? This race wasn't, and very much however the cards fall for the rest of these, all right? Let's take a gander at some of the lines that I do make, or that I focus on, whether they were good or bad. This is just how I build. I believe this is from the February race. I'm pretty sure this was a bad day as well, because I know Clements got involved in a wreck. That killed a lot of lines right off the bat. But you can see how I build lines. I think being as transparent as possible is probably the best course of this video. These lines that I make, okay? And I've said this for years. I explain it. I show lines and stuff, okay? When we look at salary left on the table, okay, this one at 18,800, 1,600, 11,600, 13,800, 12,200, 16,800, 4,800, 1,600, 4,000, 44. Okay, so when people ask me, how much money do you leave on the table? How much money do you do? Like, the entire thing is open, okay? It's open. All right, when we look at the Daytona 500 this year, and I think this, let me try and find the ownerships for the 500. I think that'd be more fun to talk about. We will talk about the Cup Series race this weekend. We will talk about the Xfinity Series race this weekend, but let me have some fun here. Oh, Pearce is in the sheet. What are you looking at, Pearce? Let's see. He's looking at Josh Berry. All right, I'm watching you, Pearce. I see you looking up Josh Berry for whatever reason. But let me see if I can find the ownerships real fast for the 500. All right, I'm going to try and work backwards here. I know I don't have the official starting grid for the 500, but I don't want to waste my time going deep into that. But I want to walk you through how I build my lines and what I want to do. And so for the Millionaire Maker, I wanted to be very aggressive. I knew the guys that I wanted to be under-owned on. I knew the guys that I wanted to be overweight on. And it's going to be very similar this week based on where certain teams qualify and where they start. And the reason why that is when we have qualifying, people, for whatever reason, decide, and this is where I'm at, this is where I might be different from other people. I don't look at race history. Okay. Side note, real quick, is as I said, I recorded for basically a half hour before I realized it wasn't recording. If you have the sheet, Pearce is in here now. If you have the sheet, you have access to all this stuff on top of even more things. Okay. I don't believe that other people's sheets are going to have this many results on the same page or even displayed in this, because I've seen other sheets. Okay. Typically, it has the driver, and then it has top fives, then it has the number they finished in the top five, then it has top tens, and it has the number they finished in the top 10 at, so on and so forth. I like sheets like this to where it shows me all the positions on the screen. I don't want any discrepancies. I don't want to have to worry about where they finish. I can just see all of them, and Pearce is changing more stuff. I personally don't want to look at Atlanta. Atlanta's its own animal, in my opinion. I think it leans more to skill. I think it's its own animal. That's just where I'm at. I don't want, personally for me, I know it's on the screen, okay? I'm just saying for me personally, I don't want to have Atlanta included in the super speedway stuff. I think it's its own animal. I want to isolate that for now, okay? That's where I'm at. So when we look at finishing positions from people, and yet again, some people. Okay, Pearce put it by salary. I was like, okay. When we look at races, whether it be Talladega, whether it be Daytona, some people want to look at them as their own animal. And we do see that some drivers perform better at Talladega. Some people perform better at Daytona. I think they do lean into certain drivers more based on how they race. I think you can get away with being a lot more aggressive at Talladega. I think Talladega leans much more to more aggressive plate style drivers because they can get away with more moves. And if they mess up, it's a high likelihood that they either don't wreck or that a wreck happens, they're not involved in it. That's my hypothesis where it's at. To whereas with Daytona, you're on a razor's edge, okay? You got to be aggressive, but you can't afford to make mistakes. And so typically at Atlanta or at Talladega, we'll see guys who are more aggressive perform better, whereas the same guys who are aggressive at Daytona, they might end up with wins, but I would argue that they might end up with more crashes. Real quick, let's test that real fast on one individual driver. Very small sample size, I know. Let's do Stenhouse before we even look at it. My hypothesis right here is Stenhouse has better races at Talladega. However, I'm going to argue that he has more I'm covering a lot of bases there. I think we're going to see more green from Stenhouse, okay, across Talladega in general. I think we'll see wins at certain tracks, or we'll see wins at both tracks, obviously. We're going to see more aggressive, close to the tail end finishes at Daytona because he races aggressive. So let's take a look at that real fast. So let's look at just Stenhouse real fast. So we see a lot of wins. These are wrecks that happen here. And probably not as aggressive as I thought. Clearly, these are DNFs. He does have some wins here. Just being involved in more wrecks here at Daytona, okay? It's a tighter racetrack. You don't have as many ways to get out of trouble. Here, you can be aggressive. You can wreck more people and not be involved in wrecks and stuff. Okay, so as I said, I think Talladega leans more towards certain drivers. However, I don't want to, focus primarily on that. Good drivers can perform well at both tracks. Okay, I bet you I haven't looked at Atlanta real quick. Bet you doesn't have a top 10 in Atlanta. Both DNFs. Okay, so I would think that based on how Stenhouse races, Atlanta would be a tough track for people who are aggressive. Okay, like Reddick, Hamlin, okay? How's Logano doing? Anyway, that's not the point of this video. That's just where I'm at. Anyway, I clump them together. Doesn't matter. When we look at this in general, however, I think that's how you can project ownership and have an idea of where people are going to want to go. Because when we're here, I would argue that every driver has above 50% chance to be involved in a wreck. I would argue it's even higher because we typically see around 7 cars a race not involved in a wreck or have any sort of damage. Clearly, there's more cars finishing the race. But when we look at cars that are clean, pristine, have no damage, no sad rubs, haven't even been in the grass or sideways or whatever the case is, we're in the single digits of cars that have absolutely no damage whatsoever. I'm not talking about losing fenders. I'm just talking about, hey, somebody got sideways, they kind of bumped him, they kept going, whatever the case is. It's very, very small that you are not involved in an incident. So I would argue that that percentage is even higher, but we'll call it 50% for the sake of this. When we look at history and we look at track history, and Denny Hamlin is probably the biggest example of this, and we'll go back and I will use this for the example at the Daytona 500 this year, and maybe this will show how I approach this stuff, even though I've already talked about it in tons and tons of videos. Denny Hamlin, look at his finishes. I don't really have to say much, okay? Denny Hamlin knows what he's doing. All right? I have faded Hamlin for about as long as I've been born, okay? At these plate races. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Usually, it doesn't hurt you if he's starting in the top or if he's starting up front. If he has place differential like he did in the Daytona 500, and I'm not saying this I'm not here jerking myself off. I am here explaining how my mind works, why I view plate races as math problems and percentages and that, and by that, that's the only way I view these races, okay? Just purely percentages, okay? We have driver A with a 50% chance to wreck. We have driver B with 50% chance to wreck. Why should one guy be higher owned than another one? Doesn't make sense. You know what is influencing that? Track history, okay? Finishing history. When we see and we look at Hamlin, yes, he wrecks out, but he finishes up front a lot. Entering the Daytona 500 this year, Denny Hamlin started 30th. All right, when we look at this race here, I'm going to X out of these real fast, and we'll talk Xfinity in a second as well. Denny Hamlin, starting 30th. Gonna be regardless if you're playing a stack from the back type of fit, whatever bullshit you want to call it, Hamlin was going to carry ownership. All right, it was $1 million contest. All right, I wanted to be very aggressive on the good drivers in the back, okay? You know, granted, I go full autism. I play a lot of scrubs and stuff, okay? I understand that. But I wanted to be very aggressive on ownership, okay? When we look at optimal lines, we typically see, and I'll zoom in here, the good cars in the back tend to be optimal, okay? Why is 30th optimal so many times? Because 30th is usually occupied, by a good car, a good team that just didn't qualify very well. Okay, when we get back here, these are normal scrub plays that, sometimes end up finishing up front. But for the most part, the good drivers, not including scrubs based on qualifying, start anywhere from around this area, from 22nd to 35th. Okay, we typically see good car. Actually, let me do it on this one. We see good cars starting anywhere between here. These are just teams who didn't qualify very well, but they have good aerodynamic capabilities, and we see that is where a majority of these stack from the back guys come from. Okay. So when we look at Daytona 500 this year, who were those good guys? Okay, Hamlin, Custer, Hemrick, Reagan, Dillon, Almirola, Gregson. Those are the guys I figured ownership would kind of funnel through. You want to play guys from the back, but you don't want to play Daniel. Not Daniel. You don't want to play Cody Ware. You don't want to play Landon Castle. Denny Hamlin's right there. Austin Dillon's in the back. Let's play those guys. Eric Almirola, okay? And so let's see if that was correct. So when we look at ownership, thank you, Kyle Rounders, for posting this on Twitter, so I can just find it very easily. Who were the highest owned motherfuckers back then? Back there. It was Hamlin, it was Dillon, it was Eric Almirola. The reason why I was aggressive on Hamlin is because I knew Hamlin would carry the most amount of ownership. I wanted to be, yet again, this is not me jerking myself off here for you. This is explaining why I do certain things and how I approach this, because I just don't want a regular video of stack from the back. Oh, Brandon, it's not stack from the back. It's actually, you take 4 guys from here, you take 2 guys from there. Stack from the back is dead. We're going to see stack from the back on Twitter. I'm not here for that, okay? I'm here to at least give something that I haven't given before, or talk to you and have some fun, or whatever the case is. And so I think going over the 500 and explaining why I do this is the best case for me, okay? And so I wanted to be, I knew Hamlin would carry the most ownership. Didn't know what it was. Couldn't really, I knew it would be high, but I didn't know what it was. So I said, All right, I don't want any Hamlin. If he finishes up front, I'm at disadvantage. That is perfectly okay. If he gets wrecked, hey, good for me. That's how I looked at it. So when we look at the optimal line from this year's race, from the 500s, where are we at? It is this one here. When we look at the optimal line from the Daytona 500 and we look at how these people score and stuff, all right. And actually, I think 2 Daytona 1. Is this the Cope one? Where you at, Derek Cope? Derek Cope, real quick, as I talked about earlier, he scored, where are we at? -4 points, my bad. Who did he outscore? Jones, Byron, Reagan, Suarez, Eric Amarola, Dylan, all who had more ownership. Okay, so I forgot that was there. Oh yeah, we can also go through and look back at past optimal lines and stuff. When we look at this race here, what did 53% of lineups score? Okay, they scored -2.55 points. Okay, it is. I want to get off ownership. Why do I play absolute dog shit scrub guys? Okay, Biffle and Hamlin score the exact same points for two drastically different ownerships. Okay, why play high owned guys? Okay, it is purely a percentage based score. Okay, all right. So when we look at how I build lines, because these are the ones that I did for the Millionaire Maker and stuff in this Daytona 500, why am I so aggressive on certain people and not aggressive on others? I'm trying to get guys who are identical plays, like Gillen and Hamlin. Gillen was going to come in lower owned than Hamlin. They are identical plays. There is no if, ands, or buts. 50% chance to wreck. Compare that with their ownership. I had a lot of Gillen. Okay, what did Gillen come up in at? And this is why I don't understand why Gillen just wasn't even owned. Gillen's 8%. Gillen's been optimal before. We saw this last year at Talladega. Gillen starts in these ranges, and it's not just Gillen. I mean, it's him as the driver, but it's relative drivers that can do the exact same as other drivers who are going to have more ownership. Okay. When we look at Cole Custer, in between Hamlin is Custer and Gillen. Identical plays. No reason to be higher on one of these guys than the other one. As I said, I was aggressive on Hamlin, but you know what I mean? No reason Hamlin should just be 53 when Custer is probably still pretty low. Let's look at Custer here. He may have been a bit higher. Custer, where are you at, Custer? 19. You're telling me I get a 30% discount on Custer compared to Hamlin? Okay, and then so anyway, same thing. Like Cody Ware, all these guys here. Jacques had a awful day. And I think this is when I did 8 lines. I'm pretty sure I ended up with more than 25%, but you get the idea. What did Jacques come at? 3? I mean, this is what I mean when people were like, Brandon, how do you play these fucking scrub guys? And I'm like, dude, I'm building for Wreckfest and stuff. Let's see how these guys did. Jacques and Cody Ware, 3 and 2% ownership. Where did Jacques end up? Jacques Villeneuve, 40 points. Unbelievable. Cody Ware, 42.8. Unbelievable. Okay? Why? I don't understand why people don't play these scrub guys. I don't understand. A lot of people are like, oh, you can't stack from the back. Well, you can't do it. It's not optimal, man. It's just not optimal. Okay. I don't give a shit about being optimal. If I'm getting 40 points on just no ownership guys, are you kidding me? And we're having people who are actually owned, getting gigantic negative points or even less than my scrub plays. Like, what are we talking about here? Why? Dude, it just block out driver names, play positions, play the ownership. Excuse me. That's how I go about it, okay? This is where I'm at this week, okay? Look, I will give the other side of the argument, okay? When we look at other races real fast, and we go through races, sometimes, scrubs perform well. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes when they're involved in wrecks, Quinn Houff, I've ridden that train a lot. I do miss you, buddy. I like playing a lot of Quinn Houff. Smithley, these are you know, these are rough plays. I understand that. Not every race is going to have races to where, you know, these scrub guys really perform well. But when we look at what their chances are to score somewhat decently compared to other people, I understand they might not be optimal, but I'm going to play them. I'm going to keep building lines like that. You're going to keep giving me discounts like that. Of course. FanDuel's even crazier. Okay, I understand that FanDuel has a much higher emphasis on finish as ownership, but bros, dude, these scrub plays are less than 5% owned on FanDuel. I'd probably my cumulative ownership on FanDuel lines might be like 8%. Okay, like that's just how I approach it. I understand it might not be optimal, but I like being transparent. I like explaining how I build lines and what I do and blah blah blah. You get what I'm saying? I don't remember the point I was going to make there. Anyway, I play from the back. All right, that's just how. Oh, that's what I was going to say. What I'm thinking of. So yes, I play a lot of money on plate races. If it's not a wreck fest, I lose that money. I completely understand. If it's a wreck fest and long as scrubs aren't involved in wrecks early, we usually profit. Okay. For me, my main debate this week is playing 20 lines or being more aggressive in the 15, because I haven't really done crazy aggression in the 15 ever. And the reason I'm saying that is when I build 20 lines specifically for plate races, that is for every line I can put. That's for every contest I can put 20 lineups in, whether it's a 150, whether it's 20 max, whatever the case is. Okay, so you do 20 in the 15, that's $300. Okay, you do 20 in the 4, that's $80. You're at $380 right there. Okay. Another 20 in the ones, $400. Okay, sometimes I want to do the 25 cents. Sometimes I want to do the mini max. Sometimes I want to do another $1 that opens up later. Okay, and so we're usually pushing around $420 to $450. Okay, into these plate races. All right, where I'm at right now is I think I'm probably gonna end up doing that. There is a curiosity to me that I just kind of want to focus on the 15 and put that 420 or whatever in just the 15. Build some more lines for the 15. Haven't decided yet. Probably won't do that. But really, that's my main, thought process right now this week. It's not about, oh, do I do a 4-2? Do I do a 6-2? Do I blah, 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 blah? Like, Oh, yeah. So, yet again, when we look at the optimal lines for these races, let's look at the top 6 real fast for the fall race. Typically, the fall Daytona race is the most chaotic. Okay, we have the highest amount of wrecks. Okay, and this is not me like being sour or like just stuff, but let's go ahead and look at the fall race. Okay, we got one guy starting 6, a lot of guys starting top 20. 2016, bit of a wreck fest, but Kyle Keselowski starts 5th, Bain 13th. When we look at these are Talladegas. When we look at Daytona 2019 fall, this is a wreck fest. This one, pretty sure this was. I don't remember this one because it was like 3 years ago, but this would be a type of race that I would probably do well in because this is a type of wreck fest. Okay, this is the big old wreck fest. Daytona, actually that is the spring one. Daytona 2020 fall. Okay, William Byron starts 6, makes the playoffs there, and I think this was another one that I did pretty decent. I didn't have Byron, but very clearly, thank God, kind of Brendan Gaughan is out of the running because that chalk was a bit ridiculous each and every race. The fall race last year, bit of a wreck fest. One guy in 13th, everybody else 20th on back. All right. As I said, Daytona 500 this year, bit of a wreck fest. Okay, Blaney was optimal from 13th. Everybody else was around here. All right. If you look on your left side on your screen, these are the starting positions. These are the amount of times they have been optimal based on these races. Let's take a quick gander real quick. If you start first, you've been optimal one time, okay? And that is from Atlanta this year, okay? And so like I said, personally for me, I take Atlanta out. It's on the sheet, but I'm just explaining where I'm at here, okay? My main point in showing this is showing, and it's very identical to this. This is visualized because I'm a visual learner. I need to see things, so it helps my brain see it. If I could see the lines, or if I could see the lineups like pictured and everything here, okay. But if you don't like that, you can go here, And you got to remember that this one was last edited in February. This is updated this year, so this includes the plate race of this year. But starting positions, top 10, you know, once you get to around 10th, we get a slight uptick. But notice the drastic change from 1st to 15th to 16th on back. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why my imaginary little line on this, and when I say stack from the back, or I say a 4-2, I say a 1-5, my imaginary little line is 20th. That is where I cut the field in half, okay? And that is backed up by really how many times these guys are optimal back here compared to guys up here. And where is the sweet spot? Where's the picture leaning towards? It is leaning towards the positions that I kind of talked about earlier, is good cars and good teams starting to bit back. They may have had a bad time in Q, whatever the case is. Why is 30th popping off so much? Because that is typically a good car starting 30th, okay? 27th, 25th, 24th, 23rd. These are usually good cars starting there, good teams starting there, okay? You know, scrubs bringing it home as well, all right? Scrubs are there, okay? Am I saying play the last 6 starters, all right? Am I saying play 34th to 40th in your lines? I usually make at least a couple lines like that and tip, and kind of, this one wasn't as, I forgot what the entry fee for this one was. I think it was 20. I'm pretty sure the Millionaire Maker was a $20 entry fee this year, and I just didn't want to put just a ton of money in it. And I X'd out the other ones. But typically, when I build my lines, I typically it usually looks like a bit of a graph or something, to where it starts off really heavy in the back and then slowly starts moving up with entry. This one I only had 12 lines, so it's more so. I mean, if I laid them out horizontal, you would see from my farthest starting back lines, it's more of a grid where it starts around here and then moves up and includes more drivers and stuff. But anyway, I cover a lot of bases, all right? I just slowly start moving farther and farther up the starting grid, and when I build lines and stuff. And same thing for Xfinity. Xfinity isn't as insane, but when we look at the top 6 here, and we look at the amount of times that they are optimal, we won't even look at the optimal lines just real quick. But look at the optimal, the amount of times these positions are optimal in Xfinity. Okay, here, colleague cars. We talked about this in the video that's in the comment sections. Why is this here? It's mainly because of the colleague cars. You'll see a lot of colleague cars come from here. Then you'll see pretty decent cars. They're not scrubs. They're just some of the smaller, bigger teams, or small, like top 15 teams qualifying around this position. They're quicker than the scrubs back here, but they are real teams who are going to compete for top 10s. Then you have a bit of a drop off, but I'm still playing these positions. Then you have, because the Xfinity Series wrecks so damn much and the Truck Series wrecks so damn much, you get the back markers, and since we only have 38 now, you'll see an uptick here. But you'll see these guys popping up because they don't even have to do anything. They just survive. These guys go from like 36 to 22nd, and bam, you're optimal because you didn't even do anything. You just survived. You avoided the wrecks and stuff. Okay? So when we look at how I build lines and what I want to do, I like talking about this stuff, you know. And the live shows this week on Friday night and on Sunday night, we're going to have a good time. We're going to be shooting the breeze, just going to kind of be chilling and stuff, you know. But I'm putting my time in terms of research and stuff towards Darlington next week, towards the F1 race on Sunday. We got more things to worry about than going into this type of stuff, all right? So anyway, there's that. Thank you for hanging out for 30 minutes, and I will see you guys in the live shows on Friday and Saturday. So I'll see you guys then. Thank you for hanging out and listening. Maybe you liked this, maybe you didn't. I don't know what you want me to tell you, driver. Stack from the back. That's how it is. All right? I know people are going to want to be like, it's not stacked from the back, and don't tweet that on Twitter, but bro, you guys are fucking insane. Like, if this ain't, oh, but these guys are optimal. Okay, that is true. Okay, real quick, 3-3, 4-2, 1-5, 4-2, 3-3, 1-5. All 6 from the back. 4-2, all 6, 4-2. This is a real aggressive. This is a green motherfucking race right there. This is a green race as well. 1-5. Green race, man. 4-2. 4-2. 1-5. 4-2. 1-5. 3-3. 1-5. 6-6. I mean, bro, if it's not stacked from the back, I don't know what you're talking about, man. On average, you want 4 guys from 20th on back. If that's not stacked from the, if that's not stacked from the back, I don't know what is. So if we could stop saying don't stack from the back, you get what I'm saying. I'll see you guys later.